And all right, welcome everybody to PacWest Bigfoot. This is David, and today we've got an interesting and awesome visual of a Bigfoot out in the Idaho, out in the state of Idaho, out towards the Coeur d'Alene River. And we're going to be talking to Joe real quick before we jump in here and let him take over. Just no real updates right now. Just doing a lot of interviews with some awesome folks like Joe today. And there he is. And and we're gonna just letting you know, I've got that other page coming out, resources page coming out later on the end of this week on PacWest Bigfoot. You'll be able to see that'll say resources. Other than that, no real news. Let's just jump into this week's interview right now. And Joe, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Hi, everyone.
All right, buddy. Hey, so you have a visual out in Idaho, and what we want you to do is just kind of walk us through, what you were doing out there in the first place, if you don't mind who you were with, what the place was like, where you were at, if you don't mind, and what you saw, and kind of wrap that up with, what you feel about the whole situation. So
I would be happy to do that. We had planned a camping trip. My girlfriend and I, she's my ex-girlfriend now, but we had planned this camping trip during our vacation. Mm-hmm. And we decided that we were going to go up early as kind of an advanced party for two other couples that would be coming the day after us. Mm-hmm. So we drove up to Bumblebee Meadows and found a really nice campsite. And we unloaded the truck, got the tent set up. I set up the 3 tents, one for us, 2 for the other couples, and then a spare in case anybody needed it. Set up all the dining canopies, stove, and just had everything ready to go. And we messed around a little bit because we got there about 11 a.m. So we had part of the day to explore around a little bit. And we went up and down the river. It's called Canyon Creek, which is a tributary of the Coeur d'Alene River. Mm-hmm. And we came back about dinner time, and we had our 2 dogs with us. Sorry. We had 2 dogs with us. We had a border collie named Lady and a one-eyed pug named Toby. And they were very well-behaved dogs, very accustomed to the outdoors. I myself am accustomed to the outdoors. I am a former U.S. Army military policeman from 110th Military Police of the 28th Infantry Division. Okay. I am a retired nurse of 30 years. And prior to that, as a child, I was a Civil Air Patrol cadet for 6 years.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in the outdoors. And we made dinner. We cooked dinner. We made oysters, and we made some steaks and whatnot. And we had just settled down beside the fire, and it was just getting dark around dusk. And we weren't in our seats 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, the dogs just let off into the woods like I've never seen. They didn't bark. They didn't yip. They just went off in the woods like they saw somebody they knew or like an old friend or something. And we were kind of freaking out at that point because, oh, great, now we got to go chasing through the woods after dogs after dark. Yeah. And so I got my flashlight, get up, and go look. And as soon as I get up and get right to the tree line, the dogs come running back out of the woods like they were on fire. And the border collie ran straight for my pickup truck, which was parked backed in towards our campsite. And her name was Lady, and she jumped up on the tailgate was down, and it was canopied. She jumped right into the back of the truck and went all the way into the corner and curled up and cowered and just stared into the woods, and she was just nothing but shaking. Mm-hmm. The pug was right on her tail, and he tried, but he couldn't get up, and we chased after both of them. And my girlfriend picked the pug up and put him into the bed of the truck, and he went straight to the back right beside the other dog. And he was just staring into the woods I don't know. He seemed more confused than anything. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, we must have a bear or a panther or something has come up on our campsite, Mm-hmm. or who I didn't know. There could have been somebody in the woods. I didn't hear necessarily anything at that time.
Okay.
So I already had my flashlight in my hand. So I got in the cab of my truck and I got my revolver out and I walked over to the tree line and I started sweeping the tree line with my flashlight. And as I was moving the flashlight through the trees, I caught a glimpse of an extremely large, I'm going to go ahead and say it, it was a Sasquatch. I wanted to deny it at the time, but I to this day, I describe it as if it was like a Datsun truck standing on its end. It was so massive and bulky. I have seen pictures of them and familiar with the Bigfoot stories, but I could never imagine something this large. It was about 30 feet away behind a tree, half occluded by the tree.
Okay.
And it was all black, like pitch black, like black bear black. And I couldn't see any eyes or anything because my flashlight was only on it for a second. And I didn't want to startle it, and I was already startled enough as it was, so I didn't even bring the flashlight beam back to look. I just swept it past it, and I never brought that flashlight back because I saw what I saw, and I saw everything I needed to see at that time. So I backed away slowly, and I asked my girlfriend to please put more wood on the fire, please. And she was over there trying to mess with the dogs, trying to keep them calm. And so she came over, and I kind of am familiar with the behavior of Sasquatch just from all the stories through the years.
Yeah.
And I've been interested in the subject since I was a small child. So I'm thinking, okay, this thing's probably just A, curious, or B, hungry. But I'm thinking, what if it wanted to get my dogs? Was it after my dogs? Did it smell our food? Is that what brought it in from cooking dinner? Was it just passing by? I don't know. But I'm like, the best thing to do at the time, I didn't want to panic. I certainly didn't want to startle my girlfriend. I didn't want to tell her what I saw because she would have just freaked out and we would have, well, I'll finish the story. So, we went ahead and just acted normally. She put a bunch of wood on the fire, and I told her, I said, I saw something in the woods, and it was black, and it's back in there somewhere. And I didn't tell her what I saw exactly, but I'm thinking if I just tell her there's something in there, maybe she'll calm down enough. Everything will be fine. We can go on with our evening, which we started to do. So we sat down by the fire again, and I'm sitting there staring into the woods with a .44 Magnum revolver on my lap, and just wondering, you know, what happens next? Does it just go away? I don't know. So we heard a twig snap or like a branch crack, just like real sharp, like pop, and that kind of startled me. So I stood up and I yelled in the woods. I said, look, firstly, I'm armed. Secondly, I do not want to shoot, and I'm not going to tolerate anybody doing anything because I was just trying to calm myself and calm my girlfriend at the same time. And so I went ahead and sat back down, and 2 seconds after my butt was in the chair, a rock 5 inches long and 8 inches long and 5 inches wide came tumbling out of the woods. It was a round, like an oval-shaped river rock. I know that now because I have the rock. But it hit our fire. It landed like right across the top of our campfire, so it sent sparks flying and hot coals up against our dining canopy. And there was a few moments of like panic, and I had an open Mountain Dew, and I threw my Mountain Dew on the dining canopy to keep it from catching on fire. And so at this point, I had just pretty much had a gutful of this. So I let off 2 rounds into the air, and that seemed to agitate it even more. I thought it would scare it off, but that was followed by the sound of several branches snapping, which sounded almost like trees breaking to me. At that distance, it sounded like somebody snapping a tree. Mm-hmm. And then we heard 2 splashes in the creek that was just beyond the woods. And it was like splash, splash. And then we heard the rustle of gravel. And then it rustled through the woods, and then we didn't hear it again.
Splash, splash.
And at that point in time,
how wide was the creek?
How wide? Yeah. It's not very large. I'd probably put it about 15 feet.
Yeah, because the night of mine, I heard a thud. It was walking along the rocky, sandy area, and then it went splash, thud. And our creek was, 10, 11 feet, somewhere right around there in width. That's huge.
Yeah, so mine took about 2 steps in this water. We just said enough's enough. And then I started saying, look, I don't know how you're going to take this, but I think that might have been a Bigfoot, And she's like, well, no kidding, because she's from Idaho. I'm not from Idaho originally. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I had moved out here in 2010. My best friend's a professor at Washington State. Okay. So I kind of followed him out here. And so we packed up the important things that we needed, to make sure our expensive camp equipment, like my camp stove, radio, whatever we didn't want to leave. And we just threw it all in the bed of the truck and drove home, mm-hmm. Loaded the dogs up and came home that night. And we talked about it a little bit on the way home. We didn't mention it the next morning until I said, we need to go back up there and get our stuff. And you need to call your sister and I'll get a hold of my friend and tell them that we're not going to be able to do this. Because we were going to do a float trip on the 12th, which would I think have been a Saturday. And we were going to do it like 3-4 day camping and to do a big float trip down the river on, floating tubes. Mm-hmm. And so we got a hold of everybody and told them that we had an incident up there and that we weren't going to be able to do it. So we drove back up and I went back to the scene and I hunted around a little bit. Nothing was disturbed other than what I had pretty much trashed myself the night before trying to load everything into the truck. And we grabbed that rock. It was still laying there beside the dining canopy. I still have it. It's in my rock garden in the front of my house. Like I said, it was 8 inches long and 5 inches wide. It is not a little rock. This thing, I was thoroughly in the belief that this thing was aiming for me because it landed about 1.5 feet away from me on that fire. Okay. So, but I don't know for certain. I would never say that for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have mixed feelings about Sasquatch. I'm not sure. Sometimes they can be aggressive. I thought this one was very aggressive, and I honestly believe it was there it was trying to get my dogs. I think it wanted to grab my dogs up because I've heard of them, taking dogs, killing dogs, eating dogs, whatever it is they do.
Yeah.
So I was very afraid, and so I went in the woods. It's not a very thick strip of woods. It's only about 50 feet from our campsite to the stream. You can't see the stream through the woods, but you can hear it. So I walked back in there, and there's a couple little itty-bitty trails, of course, from the campsite back to the edge of the water. And I found that big branch that snapped. It broke it off right at the tree. I mean, it broke off clean right off of the tree. And it was about 5-6 inches in diameter. I didn't measure it. I just eyeballed it. And like I said, we went back, we snagged up that rock, and we just shoved everything in the back of the truck again. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I don't want to stick around here anymore. So that was that. That was my Bigfoot experience. and I'd only been living out here a year. And one of the funny parts was that when we first arrived at the campground, we were talking to this lady down the road. There's a place called Fat Albert's, and it's like a bar, a little restaurant down where everybody gets out of the river from their float trips. Mm-hmm. And we had been speaking with her, and she said that her son saw one up there, about a year or so before this.
Oh wow.
So it was interesting. It was a very interesting experience. And I was extreme. It was very horrifying. I
Mm,
describe it as it's probably the most frightening moment of my life.
wow.
So
Yeah. So when you saw this, well, the shadow, the figure there, um, could you judge about how tall it was?
I don't honestly, I can't imagine it being. Like I said, it was like it's like the size of like a Datsun pickup truck on its end. Like if you took an old Datsun, one of those
Yeah,
little Toyota 2-wheel drive pickup trucks,
that's
and just
huge.
stood it up on its end, it was probably at least 4.5 to 5 feet wide because half of it was behind a tree, and I could still see like 3 feet of it. And I put it anywhere between,
Jeez.
God, it has to be close to 9 feet.
Yeah,
It had to
yeah.
be
Because I
close to
remember
nine
the old
feet.
those old little mini Datsun pickups. You know, even the minis. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you put that thing up on end. I mean, you're talking.
it was
I bet
enormous.
you
It
low
was not.
ceiling
And it wasn't
here.
like it was like hiding. It was behind a tree, but it was
Yeah.
certainly not trying to be stealthy.
No.
It was. And I wish I could have I should have brought the flashlight back to it and got a better look at it. But I saw that stereotypical shape. It
Yeah.
just looked like all head and shoulders, no neck at all. I mean, it had like a bump for where its head was. I've drawn pictures of it several times to describe what it looked like.
Hmm.
But it was definitely, I don't know if it had it was like puffing up its chest, that its shoulders were raised up, or that was just the way it was built. But it definitely had that stereotypical sagittal crest and pointed head.
Hmm.
But there wasn't much neck at all. This
Okay.
thing was an absolute brute.
Oh wow.
So
Uh.
yeah, I haven't been camping since. I used to love to
Not
camp.
alone.
I shouldn't say that because I have been camping, but like at my friend's lakeside campground property up in
Yeah.
Twin Lakes, Idaho, where she has a camper there, and another friend has a camper there, and they have a porta potty, and
Just on the edge
their
of a
boats
town.
parked right there.
Right on the edge of
No
a
remote camping.
no remote camping. Okay. No,
No, I'm
I
going
don't.
again this year. Actually, we're going to Knoxon, Montana this summer.
Okay.
That'll be the first time since.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Well, this time, man, I'd bring a video camera and
Oh, I
maybe
know.
some
I wish I
plastic
had one.
bears.
All I have is my phone. I'm an amateur photographer on the side. I have a couple nice cameras, but you know, I've to get a camera up when you see something like that, to actually get a camera out and to try to get a picture of it. By the time you get the lens cap off, turn the camera on, and get it
Yeah.
up, and get your subject in focus,
Hmm.
that's 5 seconds at least,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it takes time for the. Yeah,
I take pictures
so
for the fun of it on the side and do photography on the side. And yeah, you got to have it's got to be Johnny on the spot. I mean, you know, or yeah,
right.
you're not doing anything. Yep. So
Are you familiar with Mr. M.K. Davis?
yes.
Okay, he had a good story about he was in Bluff Creek down in California,
Hmm.
and he was walking down a hill, and as he was walking down the hill towards Bluff Creek, he heard something beside him, and he looked directly to his left, and there there was a grizzly bear not 10 feet away,
Oh,
or maybe it was a black bear. I'm not sure. I think he just described it as a bear, so I shouldn't say grizzly bear,
around there,
but it was
yeah,
like
it
10 feet
was a
away.
black bear. Yeah, they don't really have any
I was and
anymore.
Yeah, it was a black bear probably. So he didn't. He had his camera around his neck, powered up and ready to go, and he still didn't get the shot. They were both walking down the hill together, side by side, not knowing each other was there.
Wow.
So that was an interesting story he told. But
Yeah.
it's hard to get a shot off, especially of wildlife.
Yeah.
Birds, things like that. Yeah, you can catch those pretty easily.
Hmm.
But things that don't want to be seen, like large cats,
Hmm.
things that like to be stealthy. No,
We
it's
didn't
very,
hear
very
that
hard to get
thing.
a picture.
We didn't hear that thing that night until the little one screamed in the tent. She just screamed for some reason, and then we heard it run off, and it was literally running. And I'm telling you, It only took basically, it hit the water once, so it's 1 foot. So it must have either been leaping in a way and running at the same time. It was thud, thud, splash, thud. It was pretty fast. And then it was crashing up the side of the hill on the other side, up the mountainside, up the other side of the creek there. We were facing a mountain on the other side of the creek. Literally, it's just almost straight up from there.
It's like straight up. But that's exactly
Yeah,
what this turf was
it was
like. If you
crazy.
look at the Google Maps image of Bumblebee Meadows, it's actually in a canyon. It's the base of a canyon.
Hmm.
And the stream meanders down the hill. And for some reason, this tributary, if you go up the road, it's called Canyon Creek at the beginning. And then you go up the road a little further, then it becomes like Gimlet Creek. And then it becomes TP Creek. I don't know. I think they just do that to delineate land areas of where on the river you are. And it's really very pretty and serene up there. It's a beautiful area, but I'd like to see it again someday. But not.
Getting
We've
up
been.
there during the
I've been back.
day, yeah, you can go
Excuse
back.
me.
Going up there during the day might be you just
Well,
fine.
my friend and I have actually gone up there recently, but we went past there. I stopped and showed him where this all happened, but we actually went past there several miles to where the road turns to gravel, and it goes up way, way far up into the mountain. And there's nothing up there. It's just wild Western mountain country. So there's some dirt bike trails and a couple little Jeep trails we found. But yeah, I would like to go camping at Bumblebee Meadows again. So it's a beautiful place to camp. It really is.
Yeah. You
And,
might
but,
get together, a few friends or something like that and go up then. It's always, there's always
I thought I was safe with more. I thought I was safe with my girlfriend and 2 dogs.
Yeah, go up there with a few
And
more people than that and you should be fine. I don't,
yeah,
you know. And
my
try
daughter's coming out to visit here.
take a little recording machine, little audio recorder.
Yeah, I've actually been looking at those online.
I got a
I'm
great
really
one here.
curious about those.
Matter of fact, I can find it in my desk here, and I know it was in my desk, unless one of my kids took it with it. But I
Kids will
have
do that.
one here. It's just a little thing, but it's a great little recorder. I can't find it here. They must have it somewhere. But it's just a little thing, it's no more than, say, 3.5 inches long, an inch wide, a couple inches wide, and I put that thing out there and recorded wonderfully. I got it for like
A question I have for you: are they weatherproof?
This one is not weatherproof, not that I know of. One of the things that I did was what you can do is you can always poke just a few little holes in a little plastic baggie, put it inside there and set it down, a little Ziploc or something. But you can get the weatherized ones. But usually what I did is I just waited for that perfect day and night and just dropped it off.
And that's pretty easy to come by. That's pretty easy to come by out here.
Yeah.
The weatherman for the inland Northwest has an easy job in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
It's 85 every day, sunny, no rain.
Yeah.
So for a few months, which is nice. But,
nice.
My stepson back in Pennsylvania actually had a Bigfoot encounter back in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Where he saw one. He saw one behind our house. We lived in a 40-unit townhouse building, kind of out in the country. It was a standalone, like someone's investment property. And we lived in Unit 2. And our property behind us was Army flood control, Army Corps flood control project. Mm-hmm. So there was nobody back there. It was just like marshland. Oh, wow. So my boys were back there playing one day, and it was right after Halloween. It was November 4th of 2007, actually. Mm-hmm. We had been in Gettysburg the weekend before, and I bought both of the boys these little souvenir wooden slingshots, that say Gettysburg on them.
Yeah.
And my stepson, after school, they went outside and played for a while, him and my son. and they came back in to play video games, and he realized that he left his slingshot back at what they called the fort, which was this little area they played in at the corner of the yard. All boys have a fort, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And he went out to get it, and there was a 7-foot tall brown and gray Sasquatch standing there in right where they were playing. He got pretty good visual on it. They stared at each other for about 10 seconds, his estimation. Do you know Stan Gordon? Are you familiar with a man named Stan Gordon?
No, I don't think so.
Stan Gordon
I've come
is like
across
the
so much
Northeast.
online and offline, so it's hard.
Yeah, he's like the Northeast, like Bigfoot UFO guy.
Okay.
He does all the paranormal research. He's like the name in that. So we got a hold of him that night. He came out, and he didn't come out. I'm sorry. He sent 2 of his fellow researchers out, and they went in the woods for 10 minutes and came back and said, "Just don't go back in the woods. There's stuff back there we don't want disturbed." I said, "Buddy, there ain't nobody going in those woods tonight. I guarantee it." Because Jonathan was terrified. He came running back in the house, just absolutely pie-eyed and terrified. He was, his eyes looked like dinner plates, and that's how I knew the validity of what he was saying. And he wasn't known for fabrication, this kid. He's a U.S. Marine now. He's actually in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And it was unreal. We went back in the woods, and there was a trackway about 200 feet long that ran into the marsh. I got a couple shots of a couple prints. I never realized that when you cast a print, you destroy the print. Pretty much.
Well, yeah.
So I got back there after the research.
You're pulling all that dirt and everything up with it, so yeah.
Right, and it distorts it. Yeah. I have a really good picture of it. If you'd like, I'll email it to you.
Yes, please do, and then I'll.
That was from 2000.
Everybody, you guys can look forward to that. I'll post it up there on the Facebook page so everybody can take a look at that.
Yeah, let me do. I'll just get on my tablet here and I'll email it to you right now.
Yeah, send it over to me, and then because I'll post this interview up Friday. And
okay, great.
Yeah, get it out there for everybody.
I don't like the sound of my voice, but I guess I'll have to get over that.
Me either, man.
You know what? I want to make a confession to you.
Uh-huh.
When I first started listening to your radio show and all your encounter stories,
uh-huh.
I was a little put off by your coffee drinking and such. But I was the other day I was sitting at my breakfast table and I'm drinking my coffee and I'm like, I do it too. So it would be very hypocritical of me. It would be very hypocritical of me to judge you for doing something I do myself.
Oh,
so
it's so funny.
Keep drinking coffee, brother.
Oh yeah, man. No, I am. Man, I am from the Pacific Northwest, so it's all plaid coffee here. It's just
right. I get it. That's one thing I do love about living here.
Yeah, and also being a blogger and a writer here is, it's just kind of part and parcel for doing what I do for a living, I guess. And not to mention, I actually, got to know Gunner over at Monster X Radio. He's part of the Olympia Project, and he owns and operates Sasquatch Coffee Company. So,
I've heard you mention them 489 times.
Oh, it's great stuff, and so
I know. I keep wanting to try it. I see it online. I'm like, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that.
As a matter of fact, I think Tree Knock and Eye Shine would be a good one to start with. That's a great blend. So yeah, I love it. It's kind of
I know Tree Knock is kind of like what? It's like hazelnut or something.
It's like a hazel chocolate nut thing, and then the Eye Shine is more of just kind of a medium roast chocolate also kind of roast, and I would probably start with that one. It's great.
Okay, I definitely want to try it.
Yeah.
So I'm getting this picture here ready to send you. Now I'm going to describe this photograph to you, okay? Mm-hmm. So this is a picture of a footprint that is 14 inches long and 5 inches wide. And I have several copies of the picture, and I'm trying to find the right one. Because there it is. My wife, at the time when we took the picture, she stepped in the mud right beside the footprint. Mm-hmm. So her size 7 hiker has an impression in the mud right beside it. Okay. And I highlighted it in green, okay?
Okay.
So you'll be able to see it. I'm building the email as we speak.
Okay.
So
right on.
What's your email address?
PacWest Bigfoot @gmail.com.
Oh, okay, that's
Same
pretty
one you
easy.
emailed me at earlier.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming in through the back door email wise.
Okay.
David, PacWest Bigfoot, PacWest Bigfoot. Okay.
Yep. PacWest
Okay.
Bigfoot.
So I'm in the subject. I'm gonna just so you have a reference. It's gonna be
Sure.
November 2007. Okay.
Okay. That would be great.
And here it comes.
Nice. And then I will.
Now that's just one of them.
That.
I have several.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll
I have
share
several
this up
pictures
on
from that
Facebook.
encounter.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually wish I would have seen that creature. Because as soon as he said he saw one, I'm like, oh, we live in Derry. Derry, Pennsylvania is notorious for Bigfoot sightings,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's been highlighted in several films and several documentaries, time and time again. A lot of paranormal stuff goes on there. It's in the Chestnut Ridge area,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a filmmaker out there named Seth Breedlove. He has a little movie house called Small Town Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made some really interesting little documentaries as of late. And one of the documentaries he's made is called Invasion on Chestnut Ridge, and it highlights this whole Bigfoot thing that goes on in Derry.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
But do you have any other questions for me or any other information?
No, not really.
I'm happy to start.
No, that was awesome, man. I just like to have people come in here and kind of share their experiences, what they've seen, what they've heard, and kind of the reaction to it, where about it happened. That's really it. I like to keep it simple here. I know a lot of folks like to dive into a lot of things, but here I just want people to share your experience.
Right, but I really that area of Bumblebee and beyond it. I was just there not too awful long ago, and it is really, for lack of a better word, it is squatchy, man.
Really,
it is really squatchy. And my friend and I, we found this unbelievable game trail network back in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It was just trail after trail, just like interwoven like a spider web in the woods, in the forest. And it was kind of coming towards the end of our outing day that, we were about ready to head out and go get something to eat. And we went back in the woods probably, quarter of a mile. But we want to go back to that site and check it out again because it really looks interesting back there. So.
Awesome.
But anybody that wants to camp at Bumblebee Meadows, just be warned. You're probably not going to be alone.
Oh, wow. Well, man, thanks for being on here and sharing that with us. That was awesome. Awesome. So
sure thing. Thank you for having me on.
I'll get that image. I'll share that out on Facebook, on the Facebook page. I haven't got it yet for some reason, so I'll check it though in just a little bit.
Should be. Let me just double check. I sent it off from my tablet.
Did you send it to my Facebook or my email?
I sent it to email the David at PacWest Bigfoot.
No, it's just PacWest Bigfoot at Gmail.
Well, I get it, but it popped up on my thing.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Then
how it gives you the person's name and.
Nice.
Let me just check my sent box to make sure it went to the right place.
Awesome.
For you. But and it is a true thing that once you see a Sasquatch, it's almost like. It's almost like it alters your perception of what really exists out there. And you become fascinated with it. I personally have become simply just fascinated with these things, especially since that encounter.
Yeah.
I grew up as a little kid, the Patterson Gimlin film, seeing that, the whole Yeti thing that happened on the guy that was climbing Mount Everest, stuff like this. Stories just as a child fascinated me. Mm-hmm. But, this was something else. And ever since then, I have just tried to immerse myself in everything Bigfoot. My son just thinks I'm absolutely batty about it,
My kids love it.
My wife, God bless my wife. She is so fantastic. So,
my kids
she's supportive.
So they love
I know she comes home from work every day and I'm like, oh, hey, I found this today, or I found a new video. You got to watch this video. There it is. And she's like, well, it looks like a stack of sticks to me. And I'm like, no, it's a Sasquatch. I'm telling you.
I was at the ocean. We were at the ocean last summer, and my wife picked me up this right here. I don't know if you can see it on the video. You're on the phone, but it's a statue.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's that statue of Bigfoot that I have. It's really, really cool, and it's made of wood, and got it out there abandoned.
Oh, the one that yeah, you wanted
Yeah,
to name it.
yeah,
I said Simon, by the way. I commented on that. I said I think you should name him Simon.
nice. So
Simon Sasquatch.
yeah, it was funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it was awesome. But thank you so very much for being on here, Joe, and sharing your encounter. And hold on just a minute, okay? I'm gonna
Sure.
close out, but hold on real quick. So thank you guys
And
very
thanks
much.
again for having me.
Hey, awesome. Thank you guys very much for being here on PacWest Bigfoot. I hope you guys enjoyed this encounter. There's nothing, I'm telling you, there's nothing more awesome than getting these visuals. It's just great. So with that, guys, I got some more interviews coming up, some more encounter stories coming out this week. And from the beautiful Pacific Northwest, PacWest Bigfoot, God bless, and I will talk to you all soon.